What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my MLB Week 22 power rankings. And as you guys know, that is September 1st as we are recording this. And some big call-ups already, free agency signings as we're making this Monday morning. But we'll talk about the biggest movers here first. Yankees, Guardians. Obviously, Guardians last week moved down five, and they had a great week, so they're moving back up five. You got the Yankees moving up five after a week they had to win both of their series, and they did so. Then the Reds just pretty much free falling down the standings here. But before we get into the rankings, we got to talk about the divisions and divisions. AL East, still a three-horse race. Blue Jays up top. But the Yankees and Red Sox are going to be fighting for that number two spot for the rest of the year. And who knows, maybe another good week out of the Yankees and they could be atop next week. The AL Central looks like it's already locked up. The Royals finished their season series with the Tigers last weekend, and they lost that series. They lost two out of three. And the Tigers, obviously, there you can see have a very commanding lead in that division. Then the AL West, I think that's probably the biggest crapshoot we got here in all of the divisions this year. The Astros lead by two. They're up on the Mariners by two, and the Mariners are up on the Rangers by 2.5. So I don't know. I think the Rangers with another good week, even with a few people getting hurt. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, who knows when they're going to be back if they are back. And these two guys are kind of the firm foundation of that team, but they keep on finding ways to win ball games. So the Rangers are very much alive still, which is, somehow surprising. Then you look at the AL wild card there, it goes to the Yankees and the Red Sox, and then the Mariners have that third spot. So the Rangers, like I said, only 2.5 back, somehow, some way still have a chance to get into the playoffs with all they've been through this year. Then moving to the National League, the Phillies get swept by the Mets early in the week, and then it's just disaster for the Mets later in the week. We'll get into that later. The NL Central, you got the Brewers and Cubs. That's pretty much it. I think the Brewers are pretty much going to run away with that one here. Then the NL West, it's between the Dodgers and Padres for that one. Who knows who's going to pull away? I think the Padres can't really take that firm lead. They can take the lead for a day or two, but they can't run away with it. So it's going to have to come down to the end of September if the Padres are going to win that one. But the wild card, pretty much, I don't want to say settled after the Reds' bad week last week, but it goes Cubs, Padres, Mets, and then obviously the Mets are ahead of the Reds as of right now by 4 games. So anything can happen, but it seems like it's starting to become more telling who we know is going to be making the playoffs in NL. And 30 through 26, I don't think there's much surprise here after disappointing years from the Twins and the Orioles, and they just coasting their way, hopefully, to a 70-win season, I guess is their end of the year goal at this point. Nationals, brutal week for them, going 0-6 against the AL East. And then the White Sox and the Rockies, bottom of the barrel, like we thought. The big question for the Rockies is, are they going to be able to make it to 50 wins this year? 25 through 21. I wouldn't say you have any big surprises here, except the Braves still being down here at this point in the year. Their season's pretty much over. They need to pretty much win every game in September to have a chance to even make the playoffs, and I don't see that happening. I don't know. It's just a disappointing year for the Braves. They have a lot going for them. I think the Profar suspension hurt them early because what he's done since he's been back has been night and day for this offense as well. The Athletics go into or have Detroit in town, sweep them, then they have Texas in town and get swept. So interesting dynamic there. Pirates are playing some really good baseball right now. You'd be surprised at what their record is from the All-Star game. I think they're above 500, if I recall. Then you have the Marlins and Angels, both those teams looking like spoilers because you can see the Angels there. Took 2 of 3 from Houston in Houston. Obviously, they played today, so maybe they'll split the series or win the series. And the Marlins go into New York, take 3 of 4 from the Mets. And like I said, just when the Phillies and Mets division race was getting closer, the Marlins just go in there and ruin those plans. Now, 16 through 20, these are teams on the outside looking in for the playoffs, especially all 4 of those National League teams, the Giants, Diamondbacks, Cardinals, and Reds. They're all right there. Like I said, they're 2.5 back, or sorry, 4 games back. That was the American League. 4 games back, the Reds are. You can see that there's teams worse than them. The Cardinals and Diamondbacks are 5 back, or 5.5 back, and the Giants are, I believe, 5 back. So these teams got to get it going here quickly. I'd say going into this week, It's that Giants Cardinals series at the end of the year or end of the week rather. That could be deciding who's going to eliminate each other from the playoffs. The Reds, you thought it was bad last week. It gets even worse this week. You are at home though against the Blue Jays and Mets, but if the Reds got to turn this thing around, it has to be this week. And then the team I'm not talking about yet is the Tampa Bay Rays. 4-2 last week. They go into Cleveland, don't win that series, but they respond well by beating the Nationals in their own ballpark. They get Seattle and Cleveland at home this week. For them, it's also, I think, an elimination week. If they want to somehow claw their way back into this wild card race, they got to at least go 5-2 this week. And some breaking news for the Mariners. I know a lot of Mariners fans are going to like to hear this one. Harry Ford is getting called up here because of September call-ups. You know, you get to call up two more guys, have a 28-man active roster. So they're calling up Harry Ford and the Mariners. The rich get richer for hitting, and that's good to see for them. Uh, the Royals and Guardians behind them. Royals had a big week if they wanted to get back not into the AL Central race, but also the AL wild card race. They didn't do so. 3-3 is just kind of a mediocre week for them as they host the Angels and the Twins this week, and they got to at least win 4, if not 5 games if they want to possibly jump the Rangers this week. Guardians, same thing. You got to go into Boston and Tampa Bay. They beat Tampa and Seattle last week at home, but can they go on the road and have the same success? That's their big question moving forward. The Mets, like I said, swept Philly at home. And you're thinking, okay, we can get Miami. If we can win that series, we'll be right there in the thick of things. Well, roles reversed. They go 1-3 against Miami at home, a disappointing series. And you go into Detroit and in Cincinnati. That Cincinnati series is going to be huge. Like I said, the Reds and the Mets, they're hosting for the wild card. So the Reds are going to give them everything they got. Detroit, they want to try to get that AL home field advantage for the whole postseason. So, that Mets Tiger series at the early in the week is going to be a good one. Then the Rangers, their team that I think the dynamic has changed. A few guys get hurt. This team starts winning ball games. The pitching has been great. And they go into Arizona this week, which is a must-win series. Houston at home. Now, I think that's a series where they can possibly knock themselves out of the AL West running, but not the AL wild card. And if they can go 4-2, doesn't matter how they do it. I mean, preferably sweeping Houston and then maybe losing the series to Arizona if they do go 4-2. This Rangers team is not out of that AL West, and I think too many people have already written them off. Another good week, they can definitely be right back into the thick of things. Now, 10 through 6, and Boston Red Sox, obviously their big news is releasing Walker Buehler early in the week, and I don't think too many people saw that one coming. Just because of the fact that, yeah, he's had a bad year, but it is what it is. At this point in the season, I'm surprised. I don't know who they're calling up yet. They call up the other prospect, forget his name on Saturday. He pitched, but I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they call up someone else now that it is September to pitch for them as well. But they had a great week going into Baltimore, sweeping them and losing at home to Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, Paul Skeens got the best of Garrett Crochet, and that's that. The Red Sox are still right there, not only in the AL East, but the AL wild card. Astros lead the AL West with a mediocre week, bigger week for them. Like I said, they have Texas going into Texas. Then they get the Yankees early in the week. So Astros, if they want to, really put their foot to the gas here and really keep that AL West lead, it's September. This is normally when they do it. So I wouldn't be shocked if they started today. Then the Padres at 8, bad week for them. 2-4 going on the road just wasn't their friend, but they do return home for a series against Baltimore and then go to Colorado. So hopefully the Padres can get back on track here. And if that's the case, the Dodgers at 6 there, go into Pittsburgh and at Baltimore. I'd be shocked if the Dodgers don't go 5-1 this week just because these are games they have to win and stay atop the NL West. But this Dodgers team is very weird this year, in my eyes. They're still a very good ball club, but you sweep Cincinnati at home, a better team than the Diamondbacks, then you lose that series to the Diamondbacks at home on the weekend. I don't know. That's why I'm just not convinced that they're going to win the NL West right now. And then that team in the middle of those two NL West teams is the Chicago Cubs. A week for them to possibly get back into the running of the NL Central and give the Brewers a run for their money. That's not the case. They go 0-3 in San Francisco, and they do go to Colorado and win that series, which is a good bounce back. But the Cubs can't keep doing this themselves if they really want to have a chance at that NL Central. They get the Braves and Nationals this week. I definitely can see them winning both those series. Obviously, the Braves series will be a little tougher than the National series, but the Cubs, they really got to pick it up here. They were hitting the ball really well until last week, and they just got to get back on track here. Now, 5-1, I think the case is to be made for the Yankees to be in the top five after last week going 6-1. Yes, I know it was against the Nationals at home and against the White Sox on the road, but it's great to see the Yankee Ball Club winning these games they should win and not really having to stress about every single game that they play because of that bullpen. But the Yankees this week go into Houston and have Toronto at home, and that's why I put them at five here. If they can somehow survive this week, they're definitely going to be a top five team next week. Because let's say you go into Houston, win that series, take two or three against Toronto, a 4-2 week. Yeah, it's not the best week ever, but beating playoff caliber teams is a huge success for the Yankees. And obviously, if they take two or three from the Blue Jays, that means they gain a game on the Blue Jays in the AL East, meaning they'd only be down two before the season or weekend. So Yankees, it's all right in front of them still. They got a month of baseball to figure it out. The playoffs. Then the Tigers get swept on the road against the Athletics, and they were in every single game. Just couldn't win it at the end there, but they responded well, going to their second place division rival, Kansas City Royals. Win there, take care of business there, still have that huge lead in AL Central. Get the Mets early in the week, which I said is going to be a great series for both those teams, competing for a lot at this point. And then they get the White Sox at home. Good luck, White Sox. You're going to get Scooble at home on, what is it? I think it's that Saturday game. So that's probably a loss there for the White Sox. And then at three, we have the Toronto Blue Jays beat Minnesota at home, lose Milwaukee at home. So 3-3 isn't bad. I'm moving them up here because they didn't get swept like the Tigers did. But they go on the road to face Cincinnati and the Yankees. Like I said, huge week for that AL East. If they can go into New York and win two of three, then they just grow that division lead. So as you can see there at the AL East, it's a huge week for not only these two teams, but the Red Sox there, just waiting for what these two teams are going to do. At two, you got the Philadelphia Phillies, the team that does sign Walker Buehler. I think why not at this point be a long reliever or just a guy that you can just throw in there to eat up innings. Because you saw there in that Sunday night baseball game against the Braves, they just once they don't have Duran and Alvarado, this bullpen is very shaky. I know they've been relying on them heavily these last, weeks, but I don't know what the Phillies are going to do moving forward. They're obviously still a good baseball team. They go to Milwaukee this week, early in the week, which is a great series. Whoever wins that series might be atop my power rankings at this point in the season. We shall see. I don't know. I'm just not really bought in on the Phillies yet. I get the postseason experience and all that stuff, but I just can't see them going to the World Series at this point unless they can really figure out their rotation consistency. The Brewers don't have that problem with the rotation consistency. That's why they're at number one. This team is very good. They get Jackson Chourio back off of the IL after a 2 week absence, just to improve that lineup even more than it even has been. It's good. It's good. It's great. It's top five in the league. Agree to disagree. What the Brewers are doing this year, they'll probably be the first ones to 100 wins. If there are any teams that get to 100, it will be the Brewers this year. And they get Philly, like I said, at home. They can win that series. No doubt in my mind, they're going to run away with the NL best record and host all have the postseason series in their advantage for the whole World Series. And then they go to Pittsburgh this week to close out. They do get Skeens, I believe, on Friday. It's going to be, so that'll be a good matchup there for the Brewers. But that's going to be it for my Week 22 power rankings. Check back next week to see where your favorite team ranks here with only a month left to play.